All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Rocky Top Insider postgame show. This is Ryan Shumpert. I'm Rick Butler, but I'm sure that most people want to hear the name Dalton Knecht being talked about tonight. Before we get there, though, a couple of quick notes. By a final score, number 4 Tennessee defeats number 11 Auburn 92-84. One quick stat, and this comes from Peter Burns of ESPN on Twitter. Ryan, I'll kind of let this lead you into what you're going to say. Quote, Dalton Knecht outscored the entire Auburn team 25-21 over the last 12 minutes and 1 second of the game. Dalton Knecht was phenomenal for Tennessee on Wednesday night, especially in the second half. Ryan tied a career high, 39 points for the second time in SEC play. He was simply sensational.
He was, and I'll stat from myself, from Ryan Shumpert, RTI. It's kind of similar, but he had a stretch starting at that same point at 12 where he scored over 750 stretch. He scored 23 points. 9 of 10 shooting from the field. I mean, he couldn't miss, and at least 5, if not 6, those 9 shots were heavily contested. Some of them were very deep threes. Some of them were tough mid-range shots. He was just unbelievable, and I mean, we've talked about this exact storyline in the past. But when all that stretch started, Tennessee was down by 8. Auburn was on what I think was like a 23-6 extended run. Tennessee had no offense for a 7-minute stretch. They could not score. And Dalton Knecht, he rose to the occasion, and he saved Tennessee. He saved Tennessee again tonight, and maybe his best performance yet.
Yeah, I think I even looked at you, and we agreed on a mutual point. With maybe about 16 minutes or so left in the game, we both kind of looked at each other and said, you know, with this sort of messy game, it's going to have to be Dalton Knecht stepping up to be that X factor for Tennessee. A lot of other things weren't working. Zakai Zeigler was a little, just messy with his play tonight. Santiago Vescovi's first basket comes with like 2 minutes left in the game. Tennessee's big men played well, but again, just there were moments of lulls for the scoring. Again, it was one of those games where when things got messy, Tennessee was going to need to rely on Dalton Knecht, and in that last 15, 13 minutes or so, he was fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Auburn's a really good defensive team, and you saw them take Tennessee out of a lot of what they wanted to do. And Dalton Knecht was face guarded from the first second of the game. I mean, I think that's, from the very start, the heaviest emphasis I've seen anybody put on Dalton Knecht this season. And Zakai Zeigler struggled in the first half. He played better in the second half. But Vescovi, James, those two combined for 4 points. Adu did some good things, especially, really, I think in the first half, it would be remiss not to mention, I think Adu and Awaka kind of kept Tennessee in it offensively. Yeah. I think Adu had 10, Awaka had 6 maybe, both efficient. So those two guys, I felt like, had solid games. But in the second half, not much was working. And Tennessee really had to turn to Knecht. And, Rick Stick talked about it a lot. Rick Barnes, that is, not Rick Butler.
I talked about it
you're just as wise. Tennessee's offense is its best when they got to get other guys involved. And he said it after the South Carolina game. We're not going to sit around and watch Dalton do this. We got to be more than that. But now
sometimes you need to.
At 12 minutes, it was, no, we're going to sit around and we're going to figure out the best ways to get Dalton the ball in space, and we're going to sit around and watch him.
Yeah, I think you bring up a really good point. And I do think that you give Auburn a lot of credit for the way that they were able to guard Tennessee. Again, for a lot of that, until it basically became the Dalton Knecht one-on-one show, I think you got to give them a lot of credit for making Tennessee's offense look uncomfortable through a lot of portions of the game. Again, when you mess with Tennessee's point guards, kind of Zeigler having a little bit of turnovers, that's obviously going to cause problems. But again, you just got to this point where right over here on the court in the second half, Dalton Knecht was just playing one-on-one. I mean, he was waving off screens.
1-on-2 sometimes.
Yeah, there was even a point where they sent a triple team. Now, I think that was accidental, but he had 3 guys on the court, was able to feed it, and I think it went right to the paint for an easy hoop from Jonas Adu. But again, it almost felt like a level of street ball out there to where he was just saying, hey, look, I'm going to go one-on-one. I think I can beat you going left, maybe right, maybe just do a pull-up jump shot from the three-point line. But that's sort of what Tennessee was able to do to find those points at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, the shots that they had, the points Tennessee scored, at least in the last 5 minutes, that weren't Dalton. Jonas, one of the times they doubled him, Tennessee passed the ball around and got it to Jonas for an easy shot down low. Auburn denied Knecht really well, 1 possession. Zakai had to create. He got fouled and hit a couple free throws. And then, Santiago Vescovi's only points to the game. Dalton's kind of trying to draw a foul on a three-pointer, and it misses badly, hits off the backboard. And Vescovi goes in, gets the rebound, and finishes. And, I think that's maybe something that stood out to me too. And Bruce Pearl said afterwards, where he was kind of upset with the defense, was he felt like a couple times when Knecht drove, he felt like there could have been better help defense. It kind of felt like not only Tennessee's offense, it felt like whoever wasn't guarding Knecht, it kind of felt like they were just standing around watching too.
It did.
And that play was a perfect example. I mean, 3 misses badly. It almost felt like Auburn heard a whistle or something. Nobody's going after the ball. Vescovi just runs and shoots a wide open layup. I mean, how many times on a 6'3" guy get an offensive rebound and shoot a wide open layup into half court? I mean, it was a very bizarre play.
It was, and it doesn't happen, obviously, to that point. Ryan, this was a great game here in Knoxville. Obviously, the crowd was really hyped for it. I don't know if you agree, but I think the loudest I've seen Thompson-Boling Arena throughout the season so far.
Oh, definitely.
You know it was a big-time matchup, and I believe that you also told me just before the recording that there might be a little bit of movement in the SEC standings.
Maybe. I mean, we'll see. Alabama's in a tight game against Ole Miss right now.
All right, I didn't know if that game had gone final.
No, well, Alabama's up a couple points, I think, in the second half of that game right now. South Carolina beat A&M on the shot, right in the last couple seconds. So that's South Carolina remains in striking distance, but they got a really hard schedule the rest of the way as well.
Yeah, and again, either way, we'll see what happens for that game. By the time that people are watching this, you'll probably know the final at that point. But the point stands that Tennessee entering this game, they have only 4 games left in the regular season, and it was a pretty daunting 4-game stretch. Obviously, Alabama, Auburn, South Carolina, and Kentucky, all 4 of those teams ranked. Tennessee needed to play well throughout, and they start the ball rolling. They get some momentum with a big win against Auburn right here in Knoxville again to kind of set themselves up for those final 3 games. We'll see how the SEC standings shake out to this, but Tennessee did what they needed to do. They handled business at home, scored 92 points on a good Auburn team.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's what a difference a year makes. I mean, this game here last year was, I don't know, 48-49 or something like that.
I wasn't here for the game last year.
Well, that's
I think
probably
maybe,
why.
Yeah.
And even tonight, the game felt kind of ugly at times. For a lot of the first half, it felt ugly. For the first 8 minutes of the second half, it was just kind of a free throw contest. But I've said it a handful of times, but that's just kind of another example of how much better Tennessee's offense has gotten. Certainly, tonight was the greatest example of how much Dalton Knecht has changed it. But in a game where Tennessee was not that great offensively for a lot of it and kind of sluggish, they scored 92 points against one of at least the 10 best defenses in the country.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, Tennessee struggled a little bit with turnovers throughout the game, but at the end of the day, Dalton Knecht stepped up and did what he needed to do to help Tennessee find the win. Ryan, any other kind of final thoughts from the game today?
Yeah, final thought, year to the day of Zakai Zeigler tearing his ACL in Tennessee's win against Arkansas. He had a real rough first half. He had 4 turnovers, so Rick Barnes kind of put the turnovers on. He said the spacing was real bad. He didn't think a lot of those were Ziegler's fault. I felt like a big stretch in the game. Last 2 possessions of the first half for Tennessee. Zeigler gets a long rebound, shoots down the court, passes to Gainey. Gainey hits corner 3. The next possession to end the half, Zeigler hits a 3. And some moments that you're probably not happy with from Zeigler in the second half. Mainly he missed, I think, the front end of the 1-and-1 twice, kind of in that big Auburn run. But besides that, I thought he was really good in the second half. And he ends the game tonight with, I believe, 17 points, 9 assists, no turnovers in the second half after inordinate 4 turnovers there in the first half.
Yeah, you kind of one of those games where you look at the final box score and you're like, wow, how did he get all the way up to 17? But I think you're right. That big second half performance, obviously a lot of the guys spent a lot of the time on the free throw line, and that will always help scoring some points in a game. That's going to wrap it up for us, my friend. Again, number 4 Tennessee defeats number 11 Auburn by a score of 92-84 right here in Knoxville. 3 games left in the regular season for the Tennessee Volunteers. Let's see. Tennessee goes to Tennessee goes to Tuscaloosa coming up this weekend. Then they go to South Carolina coming up next week in the midweek. And then Tennessee will close the regular season at home right here in Thompson-Boling Arena against Kentucky. All 3 games ranked as of this moment, going to be big. We will be there for all of those games as always. I think that's going to wrap it up for us.
I think so.
Let's go ahead and get out of here. This is Ryan Shumpert. I'm Rick Butler. You've been listening to the Rocky Top Insider postgame show. We'll see you back for the next one.